In today's video, we're going to be making this little leopard. He works up really easy and he's a nice variation if you're looking to make a cat but want to change it up a little bit. So let's get started with what we're going to need to get him completed. The three colors of yarn that we're going to use are going to be a golden yellow, black, and a little bit of white, and that'll be for the belly area. I'm using a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, safety eyes, whichever size you'd like, a stitch marker, yarn needle, and then some polyfill. To begin, we're going to start off by making a magic ring. I make mine by laying the yarn over my index and middle finger, wrapping it around so it crosses the yarn, and then I have two straight lines in the back. I'll take my crochet hook, place it under the first line of yarn, bring it around, bring my hook under the area where it crosses, and that brings a little loop on my hook, and then I just take my hook, go underneath the back yarn, and just pull that through. And that's how I get my magic ring. Now that I have my magic ring, I'm going to go ahead and crochet 6 single crochets into it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what I'll do is I'll just pull the tail to close up the ring, but I try not to pull it too tight the first time, and that way we are able to get into that first stitch a little easier on our second round. After our second round, we can give it a good pull, and that really keeps everything closed up tight. But for round 1, we have 6 single crochet into our magic ring. For round 2, we're going to increase from 6 stitches to 12, and to do that, in each of those 6 stitches, we're going to place 2 single crochets. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 2, and then we just do that in each of the other 5. So 2 single crochets in each stitch. So there's 6, 8, there's 10, and 12. And now we can give that tail a better pull, and that's just going to keep everything closed up nicely. And so we've got 12 single crochet at the end of round 2. For round 3, we're going to increase from 12 stitches to 18, and we'll do that by increasing in our first stitch and then single crocheting in the next. So increase followed by a single crochet. Okay, increase, single crochet, there's 1, 2, and 1, and our last increase, and our final single crochet. All right, we're up to 18 stitches from 12. Round 4 is an increase round from 18 stitches to 24 stitches, and we'll do that by increasing in our first stitch, and then we'll single crochet 1 and then 1. So an increase followed by 2 single crochets. So we've got our increase. Whoops, lost my increase. Get back on there. Then we'll single crochet 1, then 2. Okay, almost done. So we got our increase. One, and then two, and then our final single crochet. So this is now 24 stitches, and that's round 4. We're on round 5, where we'll increase from 24 stitches to 30, and we'll do that by increasing in our first stitch and then single crocheting in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. So we increase and then 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, and 3. Let's just keep finishing up this round. One, 2, 3, and then lastly our last increase followed by our last 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And of course that last one just had to get caught up. There we go. So we're up to 30 stitches, and this was round 5. We're on round 6, and we're going to increase to 36 stitches, and we'll do that by increasing in our first stitch, and then we'll single crochet 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. So we've got an increase, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're about halfway through. So there's increase, 2, 3, and 4. And then just keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got our final increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we are now up to 36 stitches. And what we'll do in the next rounds is pretty simple. We'll just be single crocheting in each one of those stitches. We are on to rounds 7 through 11, where all we're going to do is single crochet 1 in each stitch for each of the 36 stitches. And so it'll go pretty easy. So if you've got anything that you want to watch or you want to listen to, now is a great time just to turn on a video or some music and just single crochet 1 in each stitch for each of those 5 rows. And I'll have you continue on to those rows, and then we will meet back up once you've completed all 5, and then we'll just continue on together. So go ahead and keep going and then we'll meet back up and continue on to round 12. We've completed rounds 7 through 11, and now we're on to round 12, where we're going to decrease from 36 stitches down to 30. And I do my decreases by doing the invisible decrease, where I place my hook under the front loop only of the first stitch, the front loop only of the second stitch. I pulled through those two stitches and then pull through the remaining 2 on my hook. And then what we'll do is we'll single crochet 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. And I'll show that invisible decrease again. So I go under the front loop only of the first, the front loop only of the second, pull through those 2, and pull through the remaining 2 loops on my hook. And that just gives that invisible decrease. Now you can definitely decrease whichever way works best for you. And then we just single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we've got our decrease, then 1, whoops, let's see here. Okay, let's try that again. Decrease is already done, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Grab some more yarn up and keep going. Decrease. And if you hear any noises, it's getting ready to storm here, and I don't know if the thunder will get picked up through the audio, but we've definitely needed the rain, so I'm hoping that it'll actually give us plenty of it. So decrease 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then oops, decrease, and our final 4 single crochet for round 12. And pop the stitch marker off. And there we go. We're down to 30 stitches. We're on round 13, where we're going to decrease from 30 stitches to 24. And again, we'll do our decrease. And I'm sorry if you can hear the rain. Hopefully it's not picking up, but it is really coming down. And then there's 1, 2, and 3 single crochet after the decrease. So again, we'll do our decrease followed by 3 single crochet. All right. Decrease. Well, at least the weather is perfect for sitting inside and crocheting. And 3. Now I just hope we don't lose power. Decrease. 1, 2, 3. We're about halfway through. Decrease. 1, 2, 3, and here we go. And last 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. All right, we're down to 24 stitches, and I think next we're going to go ahead and place our safety eyes. So we're ready to place the safety eyes if you're choosing to use those, and I like to place mine between rounds 8 and 9. So if you come down between rounds 8 and 9, and you can place the safety eye, and you don't have to worry about which side's the front or the back, but you place one, and then I like to give it where it's about three spaces visible between the eyes. So 1, 2, 3. So looks like we'll place this one right about maybe here and see if that works. And let's see, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'll scooch it over just one. See how that works. It's never exactly a perfect science when placing it and lining everything up, but I think that looks pretty good, so that's where I'm going to place mine. And of course it's total preference, and you can also use felt or embroider the eyes if you're going to be giving it to a smaller child. I know they're called safety eyes, but I just never 100% trust them, so whichever way works best for you. But we got our eyes placed, and then we're going to be moving on to round 14. For round 14, we're going to be decreasing from 24 stitches to 18. So we'll go ahead and start our decrease, and then single crochet 1 in the next stitch, and then 1 in the following stitch. And so our pattern will just be a decrease, and we'll follow that by 2 single crochet. Alright, so we've got our decrease, 1, 2, and this row round should go pretty quick. Decrease, 1, 2, and it'll be interesting to go back when I'm editing to see if the rain is something you can hear in the background, because wow, is it really coming down. Oh, let me redo that one. So we got our decrease, come on, 1 and 2, then we're going to decrease, and our last 2 single crochet. Okay, then there we go. We have completed round 14, and I think next we'll just go ahead and put a little stuffing in just to make it a little easier to hold on to. So I got some stuffing placed in, and I'm taking the stuffing really to make sure I get around those safety eyes. You don't have to stuff it all the way to the very top. We'll continue to stuff as we go. This will just give us something that's kind of a little easier to hang on to. And so once you get it stuffed, kind of just whatever feels comfortable for you, then we'll go ahead and we'll start on round 15. We are on round 15, where we're going to increase from 18 stitches to 27, but we're only going to do our crochets into the front loop only. And how we're going to do this is in the front loop, we're going to increase into the first stitch, and in the front loop of the next, we're just going to single crochet. So increase, and then a single crochet. And all of these stitches will be worked in that front loop only. So we've got our increase, and then single crochet, increase, and single crochet. And as you work along, you're going to be able to see on the inside of the head this ridge that goes along right through here, and that's exactly what we want to see. That's where you're not grabbing up the back loop and just working through the front loop, so that is not a problem. So we've got our increase, then our single crochet, increase, and there we go, and then our final, there we go, increase, and pop out the stitch marker and our last single crochet for round 15, and that is where you can see the ridge all the way around, and we've worked just in the front loops only. And so we're now up to 27 stitches. We're now going to be going through round 16 through 20, where we're just going to single crochet one in each of those 27 stitches for those 5 rounds. And this is where we'll go back to working in both loops. So we're all done with the front loop only. We're just going to single crochet one in each stitch. And again, I'm going to just have you go ahead and finish these 5 rounds on your own, and then we'll meet back up and work together for rounds 21 through 23. So now that we've completed round 16 through 20, now's a good time to get some more stuffing added in. And you can definitely really get the head all filled out in this spot. And even if you want to get, just part of the body, that's fine. We'll be able to add in stuffing as we slowly decrease down. So let's just go ahead and get the stuffing added in and really fill out that head to make sure it's all in the shape. And then what we'll do is we'll start at round 21, where we'll decrease from 27 stitches down to 18. We're going to decrease from the 27 stitches to 18. And what we'll do is we'll decrease in our first stitch and then single crochet in the next. So we've got our decrease followed by a single crochet. And there we go. And we'll just keep going. Decrease, single crochet. And we're going to be able to get through this one. It goes pretty quick. Decrease and single crochet. Oh, it looks like our storm is over, but what a perfect day just to be inside. I was just kind of in one of those thunderstorm kind of moods, so maybe it'll just kind of rain on and off throughout the day. It was just kind of really nice. Alright, so there's some good thunder. Okay, let's see here. Get through here. Decrease. And then we've got our single crochet, decrease, and our final single crochet. And then what we'll do is, after this, we'll just keep adding a little more stuffing each time. So I'll grab some more stuffing and just kind of pop it in there, and then we'll do another decrease round for round 22, add some more stuffing, and that way it just kind of fills everything up as we go. Round 22 is another decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12. So we'll decrease in our first stitch and then single crochet in the next. So it works just like the last round as far as the pattern. So we just do a decrease, and then we'll just follow that with a single crochet. So just an easy pattern, and it'll go pretty quickly since we're working with so many less stitches now. Alrighty, so we've got our single crochet, and here we go. Single crochet, decrease, and our last single crochet for round 22. And once again, a great opportunity to add a little more stuffing in there and just get that body filled out. And a little bit more. All right, and then we are getting ready to start round 23, which will be our last round for the head and body part. Round 23 will be a decrease round where we're going to decrease from 12 stitches down to 6. And to do that, we're just going to decrease 6 times in a row. But what I think we'll do is we'll decrease for 3 times. So there's 2 and 3. And before the hole gets a little too small, this would be a great time to add in any more stuffing, just to really get it just the way you want it. After this, and we get down to where we've decreased the 6 times, there is still a little room, but why not do it while it's just a little bit easier? So I'm just going to take my scissors and use this as a time to really just kind of get that stuffing all over. Kind of just make sure it's just the way I want it. And once it is just the way you want it, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and decrease 3 more times. So there's 1, 2, and if I can get in there, I'm working with some pretty small areas here. Oops. Okay, last time. Here we go. In through the stitches, and there's our final decrease. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into the stitch after that decrease. And we'll cut off a length of tail just so that little area closed. Now there is still a little room. If you want to try to get some more stuffing in there, you'd be able to. It's just a little smaller to work with. But once you make sure you've got it all stuffed just where you want it, we'll go ahead and sew that little area closed next. So I've got my yarn needle threaded with my yarn, and in order to sew this closed, what I like to do is come from the inside out through the front loop only of the 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And once you get there and you've gone through all of the front loops, you can just give that a tug, and what it'll do is it'll just cinch that closed. You can take your yarn needle and just kind of come through the middle and just take your yarn and come in and out of the body a few times just to really secure everything in place. And once you've weaved it through the body a couple times, you can just go ahead and trim that tail off. And then if I ever have like a little leftover bit, you can just kind of squeeze the body and it'll just kind of pull it right inside, and then you've got everything all set. So we've got through the major part of this project, and what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and start working on the little belly area. So the area we're going to work on next is the little white area for the belly. So I've got my white yarn, and I'm going to start off by making a magic ring. Once I've got my magic ring, I'm going to go ahead and single crochet 4 into it. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll just take my tail and pull that closed. And that's everything for round 1. We've got 4 single crochets into our magic ring. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and increase from 4 stitches to 8, and we'll do that by just putting 2 single crochets in each of those 4 stitches. So there's 2, 4, 6, and then here will be 8. And then we can just give that tail just a little more of a pull to really just make sure everything's cinched tight. Round 3, we're going to be increasing from 8 stitches to 12, and we'll go ahead and increase in our first stitch and then just single crochet in the next. So an increase followed by a single crochet. Go 1, 2, and then 1, and our last increase, and a single crochet. And now we're up to 12 stitches. We're on round 4, which is our final round, and what we're going to do is we're going to increase from 12 stitches to 15. And to do that, we're going to increase in our first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet 1, 2, and 3. So again, we'll do an increase followed by 3 single crochets. And there we go. Lastly, increase. One, 2, and 3. We'll go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we'll leave a long enough tail to sew onto the body, and we'll do that part next. We'll get this sewn on. So I have my yarn needle threaded, and I'm going to show you an example of how I do my sewing, which is a pretty basic sewing technique, but we'll just center our little belly area right between the 2 eyes and kind of bring it right up to where the neck and the neck kind of line is, where the head meets the body. I bring the part with the tail down so it's right here at the bottom, and then the way I sew this is I'll go into the body. Well, first you can kind of bring your needle down through the area to bring it to the body, but then we'll just kind of come up, pull that through, and what I do is I come up through the first stitch, come down through the next, and then into the body, and then I just keep repeating that up through the first, just kind of lay everything flat, and then down through the next, and then just into the body. And this is just how I do all my sewing, so this will be the same for the arms, the legs, and the tail, but you can definitely just sew this on whichever way works best for you. And then once you get your little belly area put on, we'll go ahead and work on the arms next. We're back to our yellow yarn, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a magic ring. And once we've got our magic ring, we're just going to single crochet 4 into it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll just kind of pull that closed. And since there's only 3 rounds for the arms, we've already got round 1 taken care of, where we have 4 single crochet into our magic ring. For round 2, we're going to increase in each of those 4 stitches to go from 4 single crochet to 8. And so we'll just increase in our first stitch. So there's 1, 2, in the next, 3, 4, then 5, 6, and finally our last stitch, we have 7, and 8. So we've got 8 single crochet for round 2. For our final round, round 3, we're just going to single crochet 1 in each of those 8 stitches. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we've got 8, and then we'll just slip stitch into the next stitch. Oh, well, we'll try to anyway. Let's see here. Let's try that again. So we'll slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we'll just leave a length of tail for sewing. So that's everything you need to make the arms. So what I'll have you do is go through and make a second arm, and then once you get that one completed, we'll meet back up and we'll go ahead and get those attached to the body. I have my yarn needle threaded, and then one of the options you can do is if you have your tail, you know, instead of using stuffing to try to kind of get into that little area, you can just use the length of tail if you want to have any stuffing in there. Otherwise, if your tail's pretty short, you can just put a little pinch of stuffing in just to kind of fill the arm out. And then where I have the arms placed is if you look where the eyes are and you kind of come from the edge of the eye down, it's kind of where I have the arms lined up, and a little bit over the belly area, so each of the arms just kind of just go over just a little bit, and then it'll be the same with the legs. So for the arms, I'm just going to come and I'm just going to bring it right up under the side of the eye and just a little bit here, and then just sew all the way around using that same sewing technique. And I'll do that on both sides. And then once you get your arms sewn on, we'll go ahead and start on the legs. We're ready to start the legs, and again, we're just going to make our magic ring. And then this time in our magic ring, we're going to single crochet 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll just pull that closed. And so that's round 1 for our leg. We've got 5 single crochet into our magic ring. For round 2, we're going to increase in each of those 5 stitches to get a stitch count of 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Just pull the tail a little more tightly to get that closed up. And now we have 10 single crochet for round 2. For round 3, our final round, we're just going to single crochet 1 in each of these 10 stitches. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 10, and then we'll follow that up with a slip stitch. And again, I lost my slip stitch. All right, one more time. Slip stitch, got it. And so now we've got our leg made. Again, I'll have you go and make a second one, and then we'll go ahead and get those added on to the body as well. The area where I place my legs kind of starts right here on the flat bottom part, and then kind of comes up over the curve of the body. So when you're looking at it, it'll start here and then curve up, and I kind of center them a little bit between the 2 arms. And again, not only will it kind of fit between the 2 arms, but it also comes up over the white little belly area. So once I'm placing it, I'm grab my other one. I'm going to just set it with the tail down at the bottom and just kind of come up and over the white part. And I'll do that for both legs. And once we get the legs sewn on, we'll start on the ears. So for our ears, what we're going to do is start off with our magic ring. And then once we get our magic ring, we're going to single crochet 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're not going to pull our tail at this point. We're just going to stay just as we are and chain 1. Then what we'll do is we'll turn our work, so we're going to now single crochet in each one of those 6 stitches that we just made. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we've got 6. And then in this little loop that's part of our magic ring, we're going to slip stitch around that. Then what we'll do is we will cut off a length of tail, pull our hook out, and now we can pull that tail tight so that it cinches everything up, and then we can have our little ear. So it has kind of a rounded ear. It's not quite the normal pointy one of a cat, but more of a rounded look. And I'll have you make your second ear, and then we'll go ahead and get those placed and get those sewn on. Where I like to place my ears is if you're looking at the very top, you'll see that first initial ring of stitches that we made with our magic ring. And then I just come out, so you got 1, 2, 3, and then I just kind of start between 3 and 4 is where I go ahead and sew those on. Now that's preference, so wherever you think it would look best, you can definitely place yours there. But what I'll do is I'll start off, I've got the tail of my ear, the shorter little tail, and what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and just kind of weave that tail through the body a couple times, and that just kind of gets everything set in place. And then I'll just use the longer tail to go ahead and then sew it. And what I try to do is while I'm sewing it is just kind of bring it in so it curves just a little bit to get that rounded look. And now you could definitely go for a flatter, wider look, but the way I kind of made it with the first one, I just kind of brought it in a little closer. So you go ahead and get your ears sewn on however works best for you. And then after that, we'll be working on the final body part, which will be the tail. We're ready to start our tail, and we're going to go ahead and make our magic ring. And I know it can be a little hard to see when we're working with black yarn, but we don't stay with the black for too long. So once we've got our magic ring, we're going to single crochet 5. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll just pull our tail closed. And so that is round 1 of our tail, 5 single crochet into our magic ring. We're ready for rounds 2 and 3, which we're going to work through these 2 rounds together, and we're just going to single crochet 1 in each of the 5 stitches. So here's round 2, and I know they can be a little tough to see. So there's 1, 2, 3, and sometimes you have to just kind of bend your work in the right direction. Okay, there's 4 and 5. So we got that, and I'm just gonna make sure everything's easy as I can make it to see those stitches. And then we'll just continue on and do this one more time for round 3. And just making sure I'm finding my first stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and pop my stitch marker out, and we've got 5. And so that is rows 2 and 3. And then we're going to do pretty much the same thing in round 4, but we're going to be doing a color change to yellow, which will make it a lot easier to see for the rest of the tail. So I've got my yellow yarn ready for the color change, and what we'll do is we'll single crochet 1 in the first stitch, and then we'll single crochet 1 in the second stitch. And I'm going to show you how I do my color change. Now you can definitely do this however works easiest for you, but the way I color change is I'm going to lay this yellow yarn over my working yarn, and I'm just going to crochet over it in the third stitch just to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to crochet over it again in my fourth stitch. I'll pop my stitch marker out, and I know this is kind of hard to see with the darker yarn, but in my fifth stitch I'm going to go in, I'm going to start like I'm doing a regular single crochet and pull the black yarn through. So I have the 2 black yarn loops on my hook, but instead of pulling the black yarn through to finish it, I'm going to pull the yellow yarn through. So let me grab my yellow yarn and pull that through the 2 loops, and now I've got my color change. And then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet 1 in each of the next stitches for round 5. Okay, for round 5 I am going to just cut off a little bit of a tail for the black yarn, and I'm going to crochet over it to really hold those 2 loops that we used to pull the yellow through, just to kind of make those kind of more secure. And then what we'll do is we'll just single crochet 1 in each of those 5 stitches. And I'll just kind of crochet over both of the black tails. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we've got the yellow yarn, and this will make it so much easier when it comes time to keep going for the tail. And then what you can do is the tail really doesn't need a whole lot of stuffing, so we can just kind of trim off those extra little pieces, and then whatever's left, just kind of tuck it down into the black part where it'll kind of be hidden. So we've got that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to keep single crocheting 1 in each of these 5 stitches for rows 6 through 12, and then finish off with a slip stitch. So go ahead and just keep crocheting for the next rows for rows 6 through 12, and then finish off with a slip stitch, and that's everything that we're going to need for the tail. So once you're done, we'll meet up with the tail and get that placed and put onto the body. So I've got the last of my tail done, and I ended it with a slip stitch, so the tail's all set. Now for the tail, I really don't use any stuffing. You could add just a little bit if you want to just kind of fatten it up just a little bit, but otherwise I leave my tail just how it is, and it kind of makes it nice so you can kind of bend it if you want to position it a little bit. And then where I place my tail is right here where it curves onto the body. So mine will go right about here, and then I'll just go ahead and do that simple sewing technique, and then we'll move on to the details. So to start on the nose, I cut off a length of black yarn. It's probably longer than it needs to be, but what we'll do is we'll go to the row below the eyes and just kind of center it in between there and stitch a little triangle to give the little nose. So let's take our yarn. I've got it onto my needle, and what we can do is, and this is just how I did mine, I'm sure there's an easier way, but I'll just come in through the head and just kind of come in where I'm centering between the eyes and pull the needle through. And bear in mind, this is just the way I have done it, but it's not a perfect way of sewing the nose. And then I'll come across, so we're in the first stitch, we came out of the first stitch, and then skip the second, and then come through the third, and then go, try to go like one row down and pull through. And then as far as the nose, what we'll do is I'll come back up through the corner down to where the bottom area is, and then I'll just work above, coming up above the line for the top of the nose, and just going up and down, whoops, and just kind of filling everything in, just coming up through the top, down through that center spot, and you may have to go over a couple spots a couple of times to kind of fill it all in. But that's just how I went ahead and did my nose. And then once you get it as filled in as you want, what you can do is just kind of make a line above the nose, so it just kind of finishes it off a little neater. And then just kind of come through the body a couple times, or the head, and just secure your yarn. And you can do that with the tail. But that way you have your little nose put on, and then if you just give your head a little squeeze, that little black part will go in. For time's sake, I'm not gonna, whoops, I bumped the camera. I'm not gonna put this one through, but it just gives you an idea of what you can do. Let me just pop that in there. Give it a little squeeze, and there we go. We've got the nose on. And then the next part, which is really, really easy, we're just going to put the little spots on. So to place the spots, I cut another really long piece of black yarn and just kind of put it on my yarn needle. And this is the easiest part. You're just going to come in and just come up one stitch and through the next, all over the body, anywhere that you want a little spot to be. That's all you have to do. And so just come in through the head, and there is absolutely no wrong way to do this. It's as many or as few spots as you would like. So you just come up one, go over to the next. You can do them diagonally, horizontally, vertically, any way that you want to get those spots on, in any direction, you'll be all set. And then I just come up and go through the tail as well. I didn't do the ears on my other one, but you could easily go and put a couple spots on that. And then you just keep going until you've got everything just the way you want it. And then it'll just have the spots all over like this. And then if you want, I can show you a couple little more details that are completely optional, that are just extra if you wanted to do anything else with this one. I can show you how to put on a couple little whiskers, and because I never did that with this one, but I was thinking it might look good with some whiskers. And then if you wanted to add a little pink to the inside of the ears or a little blush, I can show you how to do that next as well. To place whiskers, you want to take your yarn needle and you want to come through and bring the yarn needle just underneath the eye, kind of at the corner of the eye. And then what you do is you pull your yarn through and you skip the next stitch and then come in through the following stitch, and then you can just come back up where you originally brought your yarn up through, so right where it started from. And then you can pull through, and that'll make the first whisker. And if you come up one stitch diagonally, you can just come through again back where you started, and then the same with down below. Just come down diagonally one stitch, and then you can just kind of come up through the head anywhere. And that'll give you some simple little whiskers that you can put onto your cat to kind of give it some more detail. And then you would just come through on the other side, right here at the corner, just come through, back a couple stitches, and then just diagonal from there. And that's how you can make some simple whiskers for your cat. So when ears are really small like this, it's really hard to get any coloring in there. So what I do is I take some of this makeup I get from the Dollar Tree, and then you can just take like a little bit onto your little sponge applicator and just kind of put a little bit in there and kind of put a little bit of pink in there. It might be hard to see on camera, but it'll give you an option to get some little pink inside the ears. And so that's an easy way of doing it instead of trying to crochet something small enough or putting a little felt in there, but that'll give you a little color. Now you can also put a little bit with your makeup right underneath the eyes to give a little blush that way, or if you wanted to take some light pink yarn, another way to do some blush for the cheeks would just be to come up with your yarn under the eye and then just make a little stitch under each eye, and that would kind of give it a little look of blush. Again, it's kind of hard to see because it's so small, but that would give it, you know, another little bit of personality so that you have a little more detail for your little leopard. And so that is everything it takes to make this little guy, and including some extra details that weren't on my original. But if you like this, I would love to see what you've made, and if you make one, I'll have my Instagram information posted. That way you can share a picture of your little guy with me, and I'd love to see everything you guys make. Well, I hope that this was an easy enough tutorial for you, and I hope you enjoyed the project. Have a great day. Bye.